BRB Network TV with Brian Herzog.
Welcome back to us, ladies and gentlemen. BRB Network TV. I'm Brian Herzog with the very first edition of Let's Talk About It, hosted by Bobby Clark. Here she is. Go ahead, Bobby.
Thank you, Brian. And now we're at our final segment with our two guests, Craig Gehring and Aaron Ardoin. Now, as I mentioned earlier, my two guests made perfect scores on aptitude tests. Craig made perfect scores on both the ACT and the SAT. And Brian made perfect score on the paraprofessional certification. And in addition to that, they are both National Merit Scholar semifinalists. So I'm just so honored to be in the company of these guys who have done so well on their aptitude tests and to be National Merit Scholars. That is awesome. Congratulations to the both of you.
Thank you.
I want to talk now about an article that was in the newspaper where the military is very concerned because they are finding that they don't have the recruits that they need because they are not able to pass the exam. Now, what's happening? Already we have nationwide where our students are dropping out more than 50% per year, are not finishing high school. And now we have the military being concerned because they can't get recruits who can pass their aptitude test. What's going on? Greg?
Well, I think that there's just a fundamental problem of, our children, they're not, as they go through all their school, they're not getting up to 12th grade level by the time they hit the 12th grade.
Wow, that's serious.
The airplane is not taking off from the runway. And so they're on this 12-year runway. They go from first grade through 12th grade, 13 years or however many years that they're on it.
Pre-K now.
Yeah, from pre-K all the way through 12th grade.
14 years.
And they just don't hit that speed that they need to be able to take off.
Okay.
Whether it's into college, into the military, into a trade school, they haven't hit the correct amount of learning that needs to take place. And the reason why they haven't hit it isn't because of what's happened in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. The reason they haven't hit it is because of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade.
Maybe even back kindergarten and 1st grade, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's not fair if you have an airplane that taxis all the way to the end of the runway and then it tries to take off, it's not going to make it. You know, and so, there isn't, they're missing things in their early education.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about applied literacy, the fact that we do the assessments, find out how far back into their education we need to go to catch up any gaps that were missed, and the fact that we work in mainly elementary and middle school levels. I think that's some of the greatest benefits of applied literacy and learning.
Okay, and that is so important because so often when we're working with students, we find that we will get students who are in 6th, 7th grade. And we do assessments, and their math can be at 1st, 2nd grade level, reading maybe 2nd, 3rd grade. So it is so important that we do the assessment. And to your parents, if you'd like to know more about applied literacy and learning and what we do, feel free to give us a call. There are probably many questions that we haven't answered today, but we wanted to start you with our first show to show you that we are very interested in the quality of education of our children. And the best way we can do it is to encourage you to do what you need to do at home. And that is teaching your children early how to read, how to count. And I tell parents all the time that the most important thing that they can do, everything you do should be educational. If you're walking up the steps, every step should be a number. If you're looking at TV, whatever you're doing, make it educational. And I always tell parents, turn the TV off during the week. let that be something that the children get to enjoy on the weekends. If your child doesn't have enough homework, make sure you have plenty of books for your children to read, and you participate. Don't just let it be something you say, go and sit down and read. Read with your children.
Or I like go read and then come back and tell me about what you just read. You know, that works well also.
It does. And also have good questions to ask. And that means that you should have read that book also. Because if you haven't read the book, then you won't know what questions to ask. And make sure that your children are looking up all of the words that they don't know the definitions of. And I promise you, there are going to be lots of them. So Craig, now I know that you have a new daughter. And how old is she now?
She's 1.5.
1.5. And tell me, what are you seeing progress-wise from her at this age?
She's into everything. She's just learning to talk.
Okay.
Learning her words. She's learning the most important words like more. And her favorite one now is wait.
Okay.
And stop. And no, those are good ones. You know, she's building a vocabulary of the most essential words first.
Building
for
that
a
vocabulary.
1.5-year-old.
Okay.
You know, one thing as a parent is I feel fortunate that, you know, I know the technology of study, so I know what it takes to get a child to learn. You know, and you know, most parents, most of you out there, you don't have the luxury of being able to go to LSU and or go to Southern and get your master's degree in education just like that to learn how your student can learn. But one thing that you can do is Applied Literacy and Learning. They have a bookstore, and there's a book called Learning How to Learn. It's this thin little book, and it talks about how a child learns, and it teaches you the most common barriers that your child will run into. And you could get that from Applied Literacy and Learning, and you could read that, and it would teach you the basics of study technology, and you'd suddenly have some tools. You would feel competent, and you would feel knowledgeable in what you need to do in order to help your child deal with their frustrations or deal with their difficulties in a school environment. It's not going to teach you everything, but I mean, it's a good start.
And in addition to that, we also have how to use the dictionary. And that is so important. And we have many parents who come by and they purchase that book. And what makes it so good is that that's a book that will help them to work with their children. And I think that it is just so important that as parents that we appreciate what our role is. And so as we close our program today, we want to thank you for listening, and we'll be on again with another topic. And we want to thank you for not only listening, but if you have questions, give us a call. You can reach us at 448-3599. That number again is 448-3599, of course, area code 225. I want to thank our guests, Craig Gehring, who made perfect score on the ACT and the SAT, and Aaron Arduin, who made perfect score on the paraprofessional. We're going to be signing off now. We want to thank you so much for listening. And now back to Brian Herzog.
Thank you, Bobby. An incredible episode, the very first episode of BRB Network TV. Let's talk about it. Thank you so very much for your viewership, and we look forward to seeing you every single broadcast. On our next broadcast of BRB Network TV, let's talk about it. See you next time.
with Brian Herzog.